Hey everyone, I'm Sarah. So for today's painting, I'm going to be using the blow dryer to blow out a green design on this black base, and I'm going to be using lots of different greens. I've got some blue greens, I've got some metallics, I've got some color shifts, and then I've also got titanium white by Amsterdam that I will be using a little bit of as well. And then after I do the design, I'm going to be going back in and showing you how I went about putting a border near the edge with the design weaving weaving around it in some parts. So basically the design is going to be going over some areas of the border, so it's going to look really cool when it's all said and done. But because it's a more complex piece, it's going to be a little bit longer. However, to make it easier for people to navigate to certain parts of my videos, I put timestamps in the description underneath all of my videos. And I mean, as much as I would love for people to watch all my videos all the way through, I also realize that that is not a realistic expectation to have. And so that is why I put timestamps with descriptions of each chapter to make it easier for you guys to, jump ahead to where exactly you might want to see. So the first color I'm using is a heavy body color, and it is Emerald Green by Liquitex. And I was still trying to figure out where exactly I wanted my design to go. And so that's why I drizzled it on with a stir stick first before actually pouring it from the cup in thicker lines, because it's easier, obviously, to correct a thin line of paint than a thicker line. And just a note about this first color, there's actually a reason why I used emerald green as the first color on top of that black base, and it's because that emerald green is fully opaque, and so I knew that that was a great color to start out with, because I knew it wouldn't get sucked up by the black or anything like that, and it wouldn't sink into it either. That second color I used was Greenish Blue by Amsterdam, and then I've got, this is Iridescent Green Yellow by Pēbēo. As you can see, I accidentally spilled way more than I intended to in that one spot. But anytime that happens, what I do is I use a medicine syringe. Like this one in particular, it came with infant's Tylenol back when one of my sons was a baby, which my youngest is 7, so I haven't had babies around for quite a while. But yeah, so anytime you spill a little more paint than or even a lot more paint than you mean to, all you gotta do is suction it up with one of those medicine syringes, and it works phenomenally. So now I'm adding just a little bit of Amsterdam titanium white, mostly to give it a little bit of highlight against that black base. Plus, I know that Amsterdam titanium white, when it reacts with other brands, it has great cell reactions. Although with that said, like I never not get cells. Like a lot of people struggle with cells, and for some reason I never have. But I also always, pretty much in every one of my paintings, I never use just one brand of paint. And using a combination of brands of paint in your acrylic pours is a great way to get natural cells without adding any additives like oils or anything like that. But so the color I am using now is phthalo or turquoise phthalo by Golden. Now I'm using one of my favorite colors. It's fluorescent green. I love all fluorescent colors. I'm a big neon freak. But this one is by the brand of this green is Master's Touch. And I really like their fluorescent colors because a lot of them are semi-opaque, whereas a lot of other brands, their fluorescent colors are usually pretty transparent. This one is still a little bit, but not as much. And then this very last color, it's a colorshift green. It's a green to gold color shift, and it's called Green Flash by FolkArt. And it ends up being a pretty dominant color, but not in a bad way. All right, so as you can see, I'm blowing out the design now. Um, and I wanted to mention something real quick though, just to clarify something. The way I normally hold my blow dryer, is like the normal way, I guess you could say, with it pointed just like straight down, essentially. But I've seen people hold it to where they're like hold the blow dryer basically upside down the way I'm holding it now. And so I, for some reason, decided to randomly try out that way of doing it. And personally, I couldn't stand it. I feel like I had way less control over how it moved the paints, how it blew them out. I disliked the look of um the paint and of the colors like after it blew it out. Like it just, I don't know. I completely I hated holding the blow dryer that way. So from now on, I'm definitely sticking to how I normally do it, which is just holding it, straight down. Um, so I know there's lots of different opinions, I'm sure, about what way is best, but it's really just whatever works best for you. And that other way did not work best for me at all. But I've always had great success with doing it the way I do it. So I'm going to keep doing it the way that I've been doing it. So I'm just reworking the design a little bit. And then I'm going to show you a close up of the wet result before I move on to the next step. All right, so here's a close-up of the wet result. I love these greens together. I love the different types of cells that you see all throughout this. My little swirlies around the edges. I really, really like this. That right there and that corner right there. I think those are my favorite areas of the whole painting. All right, here's the dried result. You never guessed that I didn't use any gold in this at all. Uh, but all that gold that you're seeing, it's just from that green to gold color shift paint that I used. That, and this is why I told you it was going to end up being a pretty dominant color. Plus, I put it on top as the very last color, and so that is also contributes to why you can see it so well. Okay, so now I have to start taping off to like the where I want my border to go, or technically where the outer edges of where I want my border to go, to make sure that no paint ends up where I don't want it to be. And I want there to be about I want there to be a 3/4 inch space in between the outer edge of the border and the edges of my canvas. And so I've already gone through and measured 3/4 inch from each edge with and marked it on the canvas with like light pencil lines. And so using those pencil marks, I'm going through with the green frog tape and painting, or not painting, taping off the very edge. Next, I need to tape off the inside edge of the border. I'm going to use my roll of tape as a guide because I wanted my border to be about 1.5 inches wide, which is about how wide this tape is anyway. And so it works perfect as a guide. And now that I have those pencil marks down and I know where exactly the tape needs to go, I am putting that down, and I'm not pressing down on the very ends because those are going to be cut off anyway. I'm using a right angle ruler to line up with the pencil marks on the outer edge of the painter's tape, or like the outside painter's tape, and drawing a line on the newly applied painter's tape. That way I know where I need to make my cut. That way, doing it like this gives me very, very nice, clean, crisp lines. And it was different than how I had originally intended on doing the tape for the border. But this way ended up being a lot better than how I had originally planned. So now, once all the paint is applied, you still want to go back through and press down on all of it one more time to make sure that there's no gaps or spaces or little air pockets that would allow room for paint to bleed whenever the border's being painted. But even though you do that, just as like a precaution, I am taking satin varnish right now, or not satin varnish, satin medium, and a flat brush, and applying it with the brush to all the edges of the painter's tape to really, really make sure that there is no paint bleed underneath the tape, because that would be bad. Because I want nice, clean, crisp lines. And the way frog tape specifically is designed, it's made with some special paint block technology, and adding this moisture to the edge of it helps like basically activate that paint block technology, and the stuff that it's made with, that really, really helps seal out paint from bleeding underneath it, and it works very, very well. And then I'm just going to give it a little bit to dry before moving on to the next step. Okay, so at this point, I am still not quite ready to actually paint on the border. And the reason why I'm still not ready to paint the border on yet is because I don't want to do just a solid white border, because that would be really boring, in my opinion. I want the design to kind of like wrap around and like weave through parts of the border. And so in order to create that effect, I need to make sure that some of the areas of the design where I wanted to wrap around like and appear like it's going over the border, or like, you know, on top of it, is by using masking fluid, also known as liquid latex. This is what I'm using, and it's pretty simple to use. What you need to do if you are going to use this product is you need to get some soapy water to dip your brush in before you dip your brush into the masking fluid. Okay, I'm probably going to be using 2 different kinds of brushes. To spread the masking fluid, and so I'm going to dip both of those brushes into the soapy water and wipe it on the side. The reason why you want to dip it into soapy water first is because it'll help you, it'll help with removing the masking fluid off of the bristles of the brush afterwards. This is what I mixed the water with for my soapy water. It's a brush cleaner slash moisturizer. And so you can get this at any art supply store. I think you can even get it at Walmart. But I got this one in particular at either, I don't know, it was either Joann's or Hobby Lobby. But both of them have it, and so does Michael's, and like I said, I think Walmart does too. And pretty sure Lowe's even has it. Lowe's and Home Depot. I'm going to pour some into this little bowl. Carefully. And I shook mine up first because it seemed really thick on top of it. Like on, when I opened it up to take the seal off underneath the lid, it seemed like whatever was on the very top was like really thick. And so, okay, so now I need to go through and figure out where exactly I don't want the border to cover. So my masking fluid, as you can probably tell, is all the way dry. 2 ways you can tell that that masking fluid is fully dry and is ready to be peeled and painted over, or ready to be painted over and then peeled, is that, for one, if it's the unpigmented kind of masking fluid, it'll dry completely clear, similar to not latex, similar to varnish. However, it will feel very, very different from how varnish feels whenever it's dry, because masking fluid, whenever it's dry, it feels very tacky, like kind of sticky-ish. But that's So you also want to be kind of careful, which I'll probably explain this as I'm doing it, but you want to be kind of careful whenever you're with your brush, whenever you're putting it over or around the edge of where your masking fluid is, because you don't want to peel any of that up prematurely by being overly rough with your sponge brush or your paintbrush or whatever it is you're using. And so now, because I'm doing a white border and I'm doing it over a black background, the white that I'm going to be using, it does say that it is opaque, but white is very rarely fully opaque. Like, especially, even if it says it is, like, especially if you're putting it over a dark or black background, some of that is going to show through. Like, even if it makes it appear just like an off-white, like, you're still going to be able to tell. And so now multiple layers of the white paint can fix that, or you can do what I'm doing, which is going through and applying some white gesso, which is like what you use to like prime a canvas before painting on it. I'm going to apply that with a sponge brush in the same areas where on the edge where I want the border to be, and then once that dries, then I'll apply my white paint, and then I'll get to finally peel the tape and the masking fluid away, which that's the part that I'm most excited about. And so I'm going to go ahead and put this gesso on there. That way it can go ahead and start drying as quick as possible. Gesso dries pretty fast, and so that's good at least. Okay, the gesso is dried and I'm finally ready to paint my white border on. And what I'm going to be using for the white is Liquitex Acrylic Gouache, titanium white. The Liquitex Acrylic Gouache, it goes on very matte, and which helps it go on very opaque. And so I felt like this was the best thing to probably use. Oh my gosh, I just realized I forgot to press record during like all of that. So I'm sorry. Well, I just got done painting a couple coats of that white acrylic gouache. And now I'm going to go ahead and peel the paint off and the masking fluid off while the paint is still wet. Okay, so this is basically what it looked like after peeling the tape and masking fluid off, and I'm not a huge fan of it for several reasons. One, it's probably my fault. I must not have put the masking fluid on thick enough in certain spots, and I knew this was risky whenever I was doing it, but trial and error is one of the best ways to learn what not to do. But when it came to all these like little skinny squigglies, I originally thought that that might look cool, having some small, skinny, like overlapping lines of the design shown through. Now that I did it, I completely disagree. And plus, it was very, very hard to peel the masking fluid off, just in such a small like area, you know, because it was hard to grab onto. It kept breaking, and it was a whole thing. And so what I've done is I've gone through and reapplied painter's tape around some of the edge. I don't want to do the entire, like, reapply it completely like I had before, just around where I thought I needed it. So what I'm going to do is go through with my, go back through with the gesso again and apply it over some of these areas that I had thought I was going to leave uncovered by the border, that I have now decided to cover by the border. And also probably just really, I sanded some spots down of the border, quite a few spots, and it left some like dark spots in some places because of it. It exposed the paint underneath, which I expected. And so I'm just going to make sure and just go back through with another layer of gesso wherever I feel it needs to be applied. Alright, finally, this is the final and dried varnished result. This took a lot longer than I had originally anticipated, and I learned some things along the way, as I do with every single painting, even my failures, especially my failures, probably. But I did do some steps off camera, but you didn't really honestly miss anything. But you just saw me before this apply a second layer or whatever of gesso, and then I finished doing that off camera, and then I also put more white paint over it. It's the same acrylic gouache that I had used earlier. And, but yeah, I did that over where I had put gesso, and basically it's all along the border in general, excuse me, off camera. And then I'll varnish it off camera, but I always do that off camera. So yeah, this is the final dried varnish result. I really like it, but I can't decide which orientation I think it looks best in. Obviously, whoever ends up with this, it's up to them, but I still would like, you know, to figure out just which orientation I like best. But it might help to get some of your guys' opinions. So I'm going to, after I show a close-up of it, I'm going to turn it into turn it onto each side so you can see how it looks in each orientation that it could be hung. And let me know which one you like best. So, and I'll call each side 1, 2, 3, or 4. All right. Okay. So, let's start down here. No. Yeah. I tried turning a light on, seeing if it looked better like that, but it does not. Usually I do my close-ups with all the lights off and just my flash on. I didn't really like that much for this close-up, so I've got just the one overhead light on in this room and then my flash on, and I think that gives it the best overall lighting. And I don't know if how many of you heard me say this earlier in the video, but I didn't use any gold paint in this. That gold that you're seeing is actually from a green to gold color shift paint that I used, and it really showed up gold, like mostly gold and not even green. I'll back up a little bit. I like that. I like this whole thing. It's not perfect. I'm not going to point out, honestly, I'm not going to point out the areas that I'm not a big fan of, or what I wish were different on it. Honestly, because I don't want to draw attention to it. If you guys, don't already see it yourselves. And so, plus overall, like, I really love it. I could get super nitpicky with any of my paintings. We all could. Plus, we are obviously all our own worst critic, like I always say. But if I'm not going to get all nitpicky, I love this. So, I don't know if I showed you guys the middle at all. I think I did. But love the colors. Love the way the colors reacted with each other. And the black background, I love it all. Okay, now real quick, I'm going to show you how it looks in like each direction, like how it would look hung in like each different orientation that it could be hung in. And each one is going to have a number. I'm going to write underneath. And you should let me know in the comments. I'd really appreciate it if you let me know in the comments which orientation you guys like best, okay? The one that is in right now is how my friend Lene said that she thought it looked best. And so we'll call this number 1. All right. Now, this is orientation number 2, which I also really like a lot. Trying to keep glare off of it. So that's orientation number 2. I thought I liked 1 the most, but see, now I think I like 2 better. I don't know. That's where you guys come in. All right, this is orientation number 3. Okay. Dang it, I like this one too. But it's I don't think it's my favorite. I don't know, but it all looks good. Okay. And last but not least is number 4. All right. Thank you for watching this extra lengthy video. For those of you who watched the entire thing, like, you're a trooper, and thank you so much. And I really, really hope that you especially will let me know what you think if you sat through all, or at least most of this video. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.